Themba Maseko was removed from his position for taking a stand against corruption. Chikane has detailed how Maseko was removed from his position for refusing to help the Gupta family. He was giving testimony at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. Chikane says he was told by Maseko that former President Jacob Zuma had asked him to meet the Gupta family. He says Maseko later informed him of his impending removal. Earlier this year, Maseko told the State Capture Commission that he was removed by Zuma for refusing to help the Guptas. He also detailed how Ajay Gupta had threatened his removal if he did not cooperate with the family on a 600,000 advertising deal. Chikane says he was approached by Maseko just days before his meeting with the Guptas. He says Maseko also revealed that Ajay Gupta informed him of this firing before his removal. Let's get more on the state capture story. I'm joined in studio by my colleague Manqoba Mkhunu, who's been following the story. Very good afternoon to Manqoba. Reverend Frank Chikane giving his evidence and testimony at the state capture inquiry. What else came out?
Well, of course, Sanzing, I think most importantly, he corroborated the evidence of the former GCIS DG Themba Maseko, who you recall testified at the State Capture Commission last year. And this year, again, revealing, of course, the fact that, he was removed from his position for refusing to assist the Gupta. And of course, he says this is an instruction that had come from the then President, President Jacob Zuma. He says that he had also received calls from AJ Gupta, who had literally, forced him into a meeting with the Gupta family over that 600,000 rand advertising deal. And he says, at the time he did not want to meet the Guptas, but of course he says that, he then went and met the Guptas, and that's where he refused to sign anything, or he refused to enter into a deal with the Gupta family. Of course, what Chikane says is that, as belonging to a forum of DGs, which he was part of at the time, Maseko had come to confide in him. In fact, he had come to ask for advice from him because he says that at the time, President Jacob Zuma had asked Themba Maseko to go and meet the Gupta brothers. So he says Maseko came to him at the time and asking for his advice whether he should go and meet AJ Gupta or not. And he says his advice, of course, was that he must go and meet the Gupta brothers, because if he didn't, that was going to, maybe lead to the president maybe taking some action against him. So he says following that interaction with the Gupta brothers, that's where then he had discovered that he was asked to enter into this deal, which he thought was illegal at the time. And he says, of course, that after Maseko had come back from this meeting with the Guptas, he then informed him that, this is what had transpired, and that AJ Gupta told him that he was going to be fired from his job, and even gave him a date of when that was going to happen. Let's take a listen.
He then called me and said, I've been given an ultimatum that if I don't deliver, I will not be DG by Wednesday this coming week. It should have been about Friday or, Saturday. And we didn't have too much discussion because it was just information to say I'm now at that point. Although I didn't think it would be so dramatic to say they would tell you, the Guptas would tell you, if you don't do what we want by Wednesday, you won't be a director general. It hasn't happened like that before. And indeed, by Thursday that week, he called me and said, I'm no more the director general of GCIS. And at that point, I said, well, Mr. Maseko, we now have enough evidence. You are living evidence of this corrupt activity.
Manqoba, Reverend Chikane also speaking about how he believed that the Gupta family and the way that they conducted themselves was not an accident.
Of course, Nzinga, he says that, the arrivals of the Gupta family, who he says that he had met during the presidency of then former President Thabo Mbeki, of course, who he served as a DG under him. And he says that during the time, from the onset and based on the evidence that has been delivered at the State Capture Commission, it's clear that the Gupta family, from arriving here in South Africa, that they had an orchestrated plan. He says an intelligence plan to sort of capture the state. And he says it's alarming that, the intelligence who should have picked this up did nothing about it. Let's take a listen.
I say with evidence that has come to the attention of this commission and the public, I am now, which I have said earlier, I'm now convinced that the Gupta family was not an accident of history. You know, my observations. The effort to reach out to me and many others directly or through family members suggests that there was a more intelligent operation to reach out to leaders who were strategically placed or had the potential to occupy strategic positions in the future, or their relatives, including their children, and create relationships or corrupt them in preparation for a larger project to capture the state and use it for personal gain or for the benefit of those who collaborated with them.
Reverend Chikane, finishing his presentation at the state capture inquiry, what next?
Well, of course, Nzinga, we have currently the former Hawks boss, Yolisa Matakata, who is now testifying, and she'll continue after lunch.
Thanks, Mangoba Mkunu, for coming in studio discussing that to us. SAA is about